So this was in the Patrick Stewart typing. Towards the end, we started talking about the differences between 8 and 1, and you had an insight about how 8 and 1, because they're adjacent to different centers, they're like 8 is using orientation, which is more nonverbal, and
Mm-hmm.
1, because it's
Mm.
adjacent to the heart center, it's like the feelings or the emotions about how things should be,
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
why ones need to, they want to get you to feel what they're feeling,
Mhm. Mhm.
and eights kind of want you to sort of non-verbally
Experience.
respond to experience the positioning, because
Positioning.
it's
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
and so we
Mhm.
want to talk about how we could do that for all the other hexad types.
Right. There's almost like a. I'm wondering if there's like a word we can find, because it doesn't just apply to like we understand 1 wing 2 and 8 wing 7, but I'm like, what is that? It's like on the enneagram is like a color wheel, like the
Mhm.
essence of the blend of like what the type even is. Like I think positioning is really good for
Mhm.
8, and like
Yeah,
8 like a gut type that's bordering
the
the
head center
head center,
orientation thing.
and
Yeah.
like 1 bordering. It's almost like I don't know, like again, it's I don't know what word we can find, but like
Yeah.
a sense
Mhm.
of correctness and
Yeah.
properness or place existence
Yeah.
that is
Passion.
connected
Passion
to
about principles or
passion.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
principle, passion, or something like that.
Yeah. Something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right. Right.
pashable. But yeah, like it's just so like whatever that is. But yeah, it's like that. And even 1 wing 9 has, again, it's inherent about 1 in general, is that the gut is now suddenly connected to in some way the heart center, because when things are right, they feel good, and when they're wrong,
It's
they feel
also
bad.
True. Mhm.
the identity of the heart center, because
Yeah.
That's
the
yeah.
other thing about 8 is like this what I'm doing doesn't really have any connection to who I am. Like there's
There you
it's
go.
more about how I'm orienting to this situation. So there's one typing we'll do where it's like
Mm-hmm.
some lawyer who doesn't care about setting
Mm-hmm.
convict people that should be convicted. That's his specialty.
Right.
So eights can do that, whereas
Mm.
ones, because of adjacent to the heart center and identity, it's like what I do is connected to who I am,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
that's
right.
something I don't
And
eights
like
don't
yeah.
necessarily
This is yeah.
fixate on.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's like with 1, it's like the value of my life. Like if I'm
Mhm.
going to have a value, if my life's going to be valuable, I'm going to follow these principles, and you
Mm-hmm.
should too if you want to have a valuable,
Yeah.
meaningful
Yeah.
life. Yeah, yeah.
What kind of a
Mm-hmm.
person are you
Yeah.
because of
There you
the
go.
things
Yeah,
It's
that
not
allow?
neutral anymore, right? Like the gut center
Mhm.
and 1 is not
that's right.
neutral. It has emotion and value, yeah, connected to it. And just the idea of like saying this should be this way to
Mhm.
9 and 8 as like it's kind of just like why?
Right.
Because it feels better. Like because it feels right to it's 1 is
It feels right
very
to me, yeah.
subjective. It feels right. I know, and of course it's
Mhm.
centered in the gut center. It's like there's some like cosmic truth about it, but that really is
Mhm.
just like a feeling on some level,
Mhm. No,
or a
and it's
sense.
not that for 8. It's
No.
literally I'm gonna park myself over here because I'm gonna get more of the things I want,
Mhm.
and I don't care if babies are crying and, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're gonna get this done. So, okay,
Yeah.
let's do that for 5 and 7. Like,
Yeah.
what
Okay. Well, 7.
7 is, yeah.
I mean, the head center. I think that the head center is very much like in the head and in orientation, but 7 almost
Mhm.
expands it into the realm of like absolutely everything. Right? We're in the
Yeah.
gut
Mhm.
center is the
Mhm.
whole space existence. So 7's like there's my head for 6 and 5, like their own head is the limit, but for 7, it's like there's
Right.
nothing I can't
Well,
orient
yeah.
to.
Experience.
Yeah,
One way
experience.
to talk about that is
Experience.
with my overlaps, because 5 is SPSX, 6 is SP, and then 7 is social sexual. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like
Lifting
anything
off.
is possible. It's
Yeah.
Mhm.
self pres is partly realism and what can
Mhm.
actually be done.
Yes.
You
Right.
know, yeah.
The
So
reality of
and so
and
seven's not constrained by reality. You know,
mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So it's like trying to it's like its orientation leaning into experience of the gut center. So I'm wanting to experience all these things that I'm imagining,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm pushing. It's also assertive. I'm pushing to make convert my thoughts into
and it
experiences.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's another assertive type, so the experience needs to be amplified,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
alive,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah. 5 and 6 are beholden to the orientation. 7 is, again, breaking out of what's even oriented or possible
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into,
Yeah.
yeah, again, like experiencing, making something happen,
Right.
Yeah.
which is like kind of gutty, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's like it doesn't need orientation, and so it wants the
Right.
option to do all kinds of orientations,
Yeah.
and it's tracking boredom so much because it doesn't need stability with the self pres, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So with 5, similar to 1, so it's emotions and identity
Mm.
with orientation. What is that? Is it that,
Well,
fives are wanting to, I guess, oh, okay, I think I got it. Because 5 is wanting to have this singular point of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is kind of an identity emotion attached to that,
That's right.
because the thing that I've found is about me. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I've
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
discovered on my own. So there is kind of like a heart center similar
Mm-hmm.
to 1 of, this is the right orientation because of the significance to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's also the heart in the sense of, follow your heart, which means like your
Mhm.
specific thing
Mm-hmm.
that you're into, and your
Yeah.
signature of interest.
Yeah. 5
Because
is the
the
most
orientation,
personal.
that's kind of what I was gonna hit on, is that what the 5 is looking for, whatever they get to, it's gonna be about their orientation and only their orientation.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's got that little bit of a 4 thing of,
Yeah.
whatever is unique about my own orientation is what I'm going to be presenting,
Yeah.
which creates that rejection dynamic where you have to get into the 5's head center to even be able to talk to them, because they're only interested in the little corner that they've discovered.
Here's one
Yeah.
way to do it as a contrast between the gut types. Like the gut types are about all of existence. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like or
Yeah.
something that relates to, elementally almost everyone on one level, and that
Mm-hmm.
space down there is the hyper personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
also
like
in the
almost.
lines too, how sharp and narrow 4 and 5 are. You know, like
Okay.
that's excluding um, everyone and most everyone and everything, right? Whereas, like for example, 2 and 7 are the widest open lines, and they're sort of somewhat indiscriminate, about how they're doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm thinking like I mean this is like really kind of meta because all the types are different, but if you think of the centers as like spaces, like gut is the biggest, it's the universe, it's like the essence
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
all the planes, whatever, like the reality.
Hmm.
Orientation, like the head center, is about like Cam, like my feet are on the ground on Earth, like I've landed, I'm a person,
Where
I'm
am I
real.
in that
Where
in
what am I
that
doing? Yeah, what
universe?
the fuck am I? And then the heart center gets even smaller. It's like me now.
Mhm.
Yep.
What
Yep.
is this thing? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's like when we're talking about these, I just realized because as we're moving from gut, we're getting smaller and smaller, right? Like the gut
Yeah.
went
True.
down into that, like the head center is going up to gut. It's like 7 is like, let me go out to that universe, right? And like
Mhm.
5 is like, let me take that orientation on the ground and actually make it smaller.
Yep.
And as we get into the heart center, it's going to be small, right? Like 4 is small, but it's like I'm pulling away from this identity that everybody else has and trying to separate myself back into some kind of orientation so that I can continuously think about what the fuck I am.
Here's
Mm.
one way to
Mm.
do that as a metaphor is with 9, 6, and 3. 9 is the multiplicity. Nine,
Yep.
three threes is a
Right.
abbreviation for
Yes.
everything.
Yeah, the number gets
6
smaller.
is 2 threes. It's me. Where am I in this space, in this
Yeah.
universe? And then
Right.
3 is just me.
It's just me.
Single
Yeah,
3.
yeah, right. Exactly.
Yep.
Because yeah, and then even if so, when we're talking about one was the whole thing,
There
but
you
it
go.
skipped the orientation and went right into the me space. You
Mhm.
know,
That's it.
it's
Sure.
just not like where am I what on the ground. It's just like this is the absolute feeling of truth,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Being yeah,
I'm
Hmm.
starting to realize now. I mean, we've talked about this in the past, but how throughout history, all the dictators that have ever been have ended up being 8s, and that whole positioning thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what other personality type would be better at that, of
Yeah.
sort of
Mhm.
consolidating, because it's all about positioning. It's all
Hmm.
about this person's over here and what can they do? This person's
No one
over
else
here and
can do
what
it.
can they do? No,
Yeah.
what other
Mhm.
type could do that?
It's
Because
not
that's
possible.
the type
Yeah.
that is most I can see some 9-wing 8s possibly, but like eight is just right in the center of the personality type that would be really good at that kind of long-term
Hmm.
positioning.
Mhm.
So yeah, 4 again is kind of like it's this is the small me space, but I'm pulling away from. It's like I'm trying to bring it back out into orientation. I'm
Mm,
4 is over processing what they are and constantly trying to readjust and change and reevaluate and have a problem with
mhm,
it. So they're like orienting to their own heart center ad nauseum, you know?
And
mhm.
it's being in your head about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
like
Can't let
two is next
loose.
to the gut, so two is like about action and what are you doing in the world with people and where your
Right.
heart's at, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas
It's
four
like
is like
my
thinking about
emotion.
my thing. You know,
Right. My emotion into the universe now.
And you, I guess we could talk about the different blind spots because of this, because you could say that 2
Mm.
has a blind spot for orienting to their identity, because they're so focused on what
Yep.
Oh
they're
yeah, that's
doing
good. That's
that
Yep.
good.
they're not, they don't, and that's
Yep.
the thing about, the rejection of gays, that they're not interested in how anyone or they oriented their
Mm-hmm.
to their
Yeah,
identity. They're just interested in what their impact is.
Yeah. Impact.
that's
Yeah.
right.
The impact of myself emotionally on the cosmos of the universe. Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
And
And
you could say that
so,
there's almost like a war there, because both 2 and 4 are kind of invested in not doing what the other side is doing. Like, you say that about 8 and 1 as well, because thinking
oh,
too
Hexad.
much about the identity of what you're doing would get in the way of just the cold positioning of 8. And the ones don't really care as much about the effectiveness. They care more about like how I feel about what's right,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Mhm.
gets in the way. It's an opposite in
Yeah.
a way. So 2 and 4 are
Yeah.
Yeah.
like opposite strategies on the same,
Right.
identity
So
game.
like 1 and 2 are going to be inherently blind to orientation,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? And
Yes, yeah.
then yeah, 4 and 5 are going to be inherently, and we've talked about this, inherently blind to, they're the farthest away, so that literally makes sense, to the
Mhm.
gut center. They're the most
Right.
disembodied. They're the least available to yeah, the space of reality, the cosmos of what's
Mm.
actually the existence, And then
Hmm.
we have 1 to, what was the other one? Yeah, 8 and 7 and 8
Well, 8,
are
7.
heart blind.
Yeah, they're
Yep.
the furthest
Yeah.
away from the identity of what they're doing. So, like, you get,
Mm.
like, 7 that's just interested in
Assertiveness.
experiencing as much as
Mhm.
possible,
Yeah.
which is, like, you compare that to 5. Like, 5 is like, "I wanna drill down into one thing that's personally significant to me," and 7 is
Mhm.
saying, "I wanted to just experience as much as possible. Fuck what's personally significant. I've already moved on." And
Yep.
that's, that's an opposite strategy. So, yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting how there are sort of blind spots that are, required to sort of keep what you're trying to do going.
Yeah.
This is there's a like a reflection of the disconnections in the 3 6 9s. Like three is, disconnected from the heart center or disconnects in
Mhm.
order to achieve
Mm.
and do. And then seven and eight, well, that's the assertive triad,
Assertive types,
is
yeah.
yeah. So there's a thing with 7 and 8 that's specifically structurally
Disconnecting.
disconnected from heart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. In order to assert, you kinda have to,
that's right. That's right.
you can't, I mean, that's part of it, because it's like, if you get caught up too much in identity and how you feel about things, you're not gonna get
And
things
how
done.
other people feel.